What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Two Knicks Chicks. Thank you for joining us today. I'm your girl, Lady and the Chef, joined by my co-host today.
Relax 21. What's up? What's good, people?
Happy Saturday, Diva.
Same to you.
It would be happier if the Knicks would have won yesterday against San Antonio, which was a nail biter. We'll get into that game, but I did want to recap and go back against the Knicks versus Toronto. And actually, before I do that, I just want to salute the chat. Walter Blackman, salute. He said, I love your show. I'm in Virginia. Thanks for tuning in, Walter. We appreciate it. And salute to Corey Lee from the 718 Boys. Peace and salute. Queens is in the
Salute,
building.
Carmen B.
Really salute those of you who are watching, even those of you who are on the replay gang, go check him out. He's under the 718 Boys on YouTube. Show them some love and subscribe to their channel. They go on every Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. So go check them out. They do really good Knicks content under the Blood Orange Tears channel. So check them out. Go subscribe to their channel and show them some love. Hit that like button for our channel and their channel as well. So let's get back into business for the Knicks. The Knicks played on Wednesday against Toronto, who's been struggling. I want to say this was Toronto's 12th loss in a row that they lost against the Knicks, and correct me if I'm wrong. Knicks won 145 to 101. And I don't know if you know if that was where that was in their last career high that they've had in points that they've made. But that was like, I don't know if that was a high for the Knicks. They could have scored more, or I think it was one of the highest because I think the highest was maybe the Warriors at like 157, 158. So they were a little shy of that. Nonetheless, the Knicks won that game. That put the Knicks in the third spot in the East. I thought it was a pretty decent, pretty good overall, well-rounded game. Josh Hart finished with 7 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds. Dante DiVincenzo scored 16 points. He had 5 rebounds. Isaiah Hartenstein had 15 points, 4 rebounds. Miles McBride had another career high of 29 points, 7 assists. Jalen Brunson had 26 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. Precious Achua had a double-double. He finished with 19 points, 12 rebounds. Bojan had 18. Mitchell Robinson was back in that game. He had 8 points, 2 rebounds. Shake Milton had 7 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. And I was happy to see Shake get some minutes.
For
I don't know
sure.
what's making Tom Thibodeau all of a sudden put him in and give him some burn. And maybe it could be because the Knicks had a nice lead over Toronto and they were able to get that win. But listen, I'm happy to see him in that game getting the minutes that he deserves to get. Um, what did you think about Mitchell Robinson when he got in the game? What were your thoughts on seeing Mitch back in the game?
It's just good just having him back. Like, I mean, we let's face it, we need Mitch offensively and defensively. Um, just to see him back, I mean, because he's missed like what, like 50 games just
Yeah,
about.
50.
So
So,
yeah, yeah. So just to see him back, I mean, I wish he would have came back on a home game so he could got that big old standing ovation. But nevertheless, he was back. That's
right,
what matters, and we got the win. It's just because you, as a fan, you could only just imagine their struggle. When they go out and injured, and it takes so long. And like he said, when he first got hurt, in the beginning of the season, he says, I do everything right. I was following this and this and that, and the third, and you get injured, it's devastating for a player. And just to see his team out there knowing, wishing you could contribute. So the adrenaline was probably like super high for him, and glad he was able to, make it through. And just overall, as just to see him out there is so refreshing, and to know that we have like 2 healthy centers. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, we on. It's no stopping us. So it was great just seeing him out there, and just checking in. So you, as a fan, you can only imagine, and we're happy and elated, what he's, how he's feeling. So you
right.
just try to put yourself in their shoes, and it was just great seeing him out there.
Yeah, I thought I felt the same way. I thought it was great seeing Mitch out there playing. He does look a little out of shape.
For sure.
Stamina wise. He looks a little bit out of shape, but he had one play where I don't remember who from Toronto went up and Mitch just snatched the ball. I said, you see that? That's where you miss Mitchell Robinson and his presence on the defensive end and what he can do and being that threat down in the paint. And I thought Mitch did a great job. Just his presence alone, just being there, and it created more of a barrier from the offense coming into the paint. Mitch was just, to me, he looked really good. And he's gonna get better throughout. It's nice that he's able to play these last. I think we're down to maybe 11, 10 games now. So the conditioning will be there. He'll be ready for, he's getting his feet wet before the postseason, which is nice. And it is nice to see Hartenstein when he goes to the bench. You have another strong center and you're not just relying on Precious Achua, even though I know that Mitchell Robinson is on limited minutes and that he's not playing as many minutes just because they're trying to be careful and monitor him going back in. So, um, you know, but nonetheless, I thought that Mitchell Robinson looked really good out there. I thought this game by the Knicks against the Raptors was pretty good. The Knicks were at 58% from the field goal percentage. Toronto was at 46. The Knicks were at 50% three-pointer percentage. Toronto was at 35. The Knicks finished 13 for 16 from the free throw line at 81%. Toronto was 12 for 13 at 92. Knicks finished with 42 total rebounds. 15 was offensive, 27 defensive. Toronto only had 28 total rebounds. Knicks finished with 37 assists, Toronto 31. Knicks had 8 blocks, Toronto 4. Both teams finished with 7 steals. The Knicks only had 11 turnovers, which was nice. Toronto had 18. And the points in the paint were up. The Knicks had 56, Toronto had 46. So again, I thought it was the Knicks just looked very comfortable. The energy was there, the confidence was there. It almost reminded you of when we played Detroit. It was just like shooting practice for these guys. I mean, I just thought it was a well-rounded game. The Knicks took the lead, maintained the lead, what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
I wanted the Knicks to finish off strongly and win yesterday's game against the Spurs because this way, now I feel like I said I want them to go ahead and beat OKC because we haven't beat them yet. But it would have been nice if the Knicks would have beat that game because I remember you texting me that I want to say you said Orlando or was it Cleveland lost last night
No, it was Orlando. Cleveland won, which knocked us back down to 4.
to fourth.
So
Right.
yeah.
You see what I'm
But
saying?
exactly. And like that Toronto game, it's like everybody was clicking on all cylinders. Like they came out and they took, command of that game. And this is what you want the Knicks to do, and fortunately it's not going to happen all games, but I mean, the goal is for it to, start out strong because, with that game, they were locked in defensively, offensively, they had their turnovers, they had limited that. That Toronto game, I was hoping like the San Antonio game would have mirrored that because, Tiz was able to make the adjustments, which he wasn't yesterday. And so that was, partly, I guess for the loss outside of people not contributing, but I'll get into that. The perimeter shoot, like we talking about the Toronto game, the perimeter shooting was like it had gotten so much better. Deuce was on point. Again, we'll get into from yesterday. There was a lot of MIAs in yesterday's game, but overall that Toronto game was like a game where everybody was just so locked in,
Hmm.
regardless of who played, whether it was G League games, the players, they was just so locked and so focused. Um, and it's a shame they couldn't carry that over, to yesterday's game because, I don't know if they just took,
San
the
Antonio
Spurs.
likely. Mm,
Yeah, yes. So it makes you wonder, like, and that's what I say when it's a non-conference, a team, they tend to play down or teams below 500, as opposed to like you got to get that lead and make a statement from that first tip off. But the Toronto game was just like it was. they was locked in and
Yeah,
just ready to, and everybody, contribute. That was great ball movement. That shows because there was so many people were involved in scoring, and not just scoring, just the little things. You don't have to score to make an impact. There's a lot
exactly.
of other things that you can do on the floor where you can make that impact, a steal, your defense. So, it's not just all about offense, but it's just didn't carry over for yesterday's game. But great win for Toronto, but for that game, for the Knicks rather.
Yeah. The Knicks played San Antonio yesterday. San Antonio's record is 18-56, so the Knicks helped them get their 18th win. The Knicks lost 126 to 130. That was in overtime. The Knicks are now 44-29. The Knicks also lost yesterday's game because there was a couple of reasons why. The Knicks didn't have control from the start of the game in the first quarter.
Yeah,
They didn't really start to make a run till early in the third as when the Knicks
yeah,
started chipping away at the lead. But in the first quarter is where the Knicks effed around and they found out that San Antonio wasn't playing any games because that was for the Knicks game for the taking. And this game reminded me of the previous games when we played Detroit and the Knicks. The game would be so close. Why is the score so close? Why is it so chippy? And this is how once the Knicks even crawled back into it, the Knicks were never really able to pull away with the
yeah,
lead and take a lead and stick with that because a lot of what I saw too that was like concerning with the Knicks, Toronto had a lot of easy layups. There was a lot of easy layups that were made, easy, simple. And I'm not even just talking about Wembayana. I'm talking about guys were just going in, cutting to the basket, getting easy layups. And
yeah.
there was really no contribution. There was only three guys in double figures. Dante DiVincenzo, who to me didn't have a good game. You was
No,
still at 11 points to the damn near midway in the third, and then you decided to wake up. Okay, if you're gonna wake up, then you need to go off because 20 points wasn't enough. He had 20.6 rebounds, 2 assists, played 49 minutes. Josh Hart played 42 minutes, finished with a double double. He had 12 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists. Isaiah Hartenstein only had 7 points, 4 rebounds. And I don't know where was the rebounds from Isaiah Hartenstein either.
and
Mitchell
he found
Robinson
out.
came in. Yeah, he played 28 minutes. Mitchell Robinson played 20, had 12 rebounds, 7 points. They both had 7 points, but Mitch dominated on the boards. Precious Achua, 16 points, 16 minutes, only had 5 rebounds, 6 points. And Bojan, again, a disappearing act, 15 minutes, 4 points. Shake
Dude,
Milton should have got more minutes because he had 6 minutes, 2 points, 3 rebounds. But I think if he would have got more minutes, he could have probably did what we've been seeing from Deuce McBride, who
yeah,
played
because dude,
6 minutes
yeah,
and only had 7 points.
because he had a very off night, and he tried, but yesterday wasn't his night, and that's why sometimes like Tibbs, like I get that Montrezl shooter's gonna shoot, but sometimes you gotta recognize when a player is having an off night and maybe switch out because you have enough guys to switch out. So and Tibbs failed to do that, but it just wasn't enough contribution from
The
y-
supporting cast.
yes, man, tell me about it. Yep.
And that
This
was
comes
the reasoning for me making the thumbnail that I made. There's an echo. That was the reasoning for me to make the thumbnail that I made, basically saying that the Knicks supporting cast, while they stepped up in the previous games, yesterday's game was a game for them to step up, contribute. And this is what I was saying is why I get a little concerned because if the supporting cast can't step up in a game against a team that's eliminated from the playoffs, they're eliminated. When you check on the NBA, every time they post under their community pages on YouTube, they every day they do a status of where we're at, who's doing what, and they have the X's near the teams that's already eliminated. San Antonio has an X, or it could be a circle, whichever one they use, saying you're eliminated. I'm not sure how the Knicks let that one go. And a part of that is lack of focus. You can't say you're tired. The games have been spaced out. Josh Hart, McBride, you've already been playing 40 something minutes. Dante DiVincenzo, I don't know where the hell he was during the game. And it makes me wonder, if Jalen Brunson wasn't on this team, what would the score have been? Were you going to get blown out by San Antonio? He can't even buy up 20 wins this season. So it's very concerning that this team can't seem to get the job done without Jalen Brunson. And then people complain and say he hogs the ball, he doesn't pass. Again, like I've been saying since the beginning of the season, when a player is hot like he is, it's not about him being hot. He's the end goal is to get the win. It's to get the win. It's not, and that means doing whatever it takes to get the win. I'm not going to pass it to you and pass it to you for you to play around and miss the shot and you being hesitant. You know what I mean? You're not taking it inside. You're not taking that initiative. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just do what I need to do. I don't think he's hogging the ball. I think he was trying to win. He's not out there trying to score 50, 60 points. If he could score 20, 25, he'll be happy with that. But no one else was doing anything. And that's the problem with this team. No one steps up and take the initiative to take the action to say, okay, I'm going to do what I need to do to get the points on a board, or I'm going to cut to the basket. Hartenstein, poor game, even before you fouled out. Again, and I don't care about Wembanyama. We know he's tall. He's going to score. I saw a few times where Precious tried to guard him, Hartenstein tried to guard him, Mitch tried to guard him. It wasn't just him. It was just a collective effort from San Antonio. But I thought the Knicks defense was poor. It was a lackluster effort offensively. And no one even seemed like they really tried to wake up even in midway in the third quarter. It just wasn't a good effort game. It wasn't a good game by the Knicks. And these are the games that I get upset about because you shouldn't drop them. I understand it's going to happen in the league. You're not going to beat every team every night. But games like against San Antonio, that was a non-negotiable. You should have won that game. Because now when you play tomorrow against OKC, who's more of a challenging team, a better team, the Knicks are a good team, but a better team when you go a face against. Now you have to figure out how to beat them. You think SGA is going to hold back? He going to do what Brunson did last night. I could give you 50, 60 if I really want to. Chet, I'm going to go up too. These guys are not going to hold back. But what I didn't like with that game was that there was really no ball movement. It was one, maybe two passes, then a shot. Some of the passes that I seen thrown. What? And let's talk about that last shot. Did you feel comfortable with the ball going to Miles McBride? That could have eliminated the overtime.
No, and again, this comes from Brunson's trying to get guys involved. So and he trusted Deuce to to possibly make that shot. No, I didn't feel comfortable, but this is Brunson felt comfortable, so it was all about his comfortability because he entrusted Miles that will make that shot. And this is what people say, oh, he hogs the ball. Yeah, he has 6 assists, but who is he gonna and he tried to get guys involved. They just didn't come through for whatever they were also he didn't get the contribution that he needed, that the team needed for that win. But no, I didn't feel comfortable. But again, Brunson felt comfortable enough to pass it to Miles, and Miles just couldn't hit that shot, which and that's what forced the game into overtime. But again, that's a trust factor that he has, and these guys have to deliver you know, with making that shot. Just
But do
didn't
you think
fall.
he should have thrown it to somebody else, or
Um,
were you okay with him passing it to McBride?
I mean, it's just it just didn't fall. You know, it just didn't fall. I mean, I felt he was more open because of where he was, out in the perimeter, and again, it just didn't fall for McBride. It was just a tough shot that um, a makeable shot, but it just didn't, again, it just didn't fall for whatever reason. He was off, but went veered off a little bit. It clanked up at the top, but that was a tough one though.
When you think about moving forward in this season, going into the playoffs, and a game like yesterday, and the Knicks aren't on, players aren't knocking down shots, is that concerning to you? Or do you feel like, is it concerning? And do you also feel like the Tibbs should be having these guys bring the ball in or telling them to drive, whether that's driving or going for a mid range shot? Like, do you feel like, again, because you played against a team who's not having a great season, and the Knicks should have went to what works for them, and I felt like they went away from that in a game like yesterday. They went
Yeah,
away from what works for them, and this is something that the Knicks have to be more disciplined about as a team. They move away from what works for them, and that's what hurts them at the end of the day in games. But do you feel like that's a concern for you, that because it reminds me of when we played against Miami last season in the playoffs and no one was able to knock down a basket? Like, is that concerning for you, or do you feel like they need Randall back? Or even if Randall was in the game, whether it was yesterday's game or not, and maybe only him and Brunson are knocking down shots, is that a concern if you have like DiVincenzo, McBride, um, guys are not knocking down shots? What do the Knicks do?
well, it is concerning because just yesterday the free throw disparity, like Wembanyama took 12 free throws. He was 10 for 12, but we only made it to the line 12 times. So it's kind of concerning. We weren't getting the calls. Yeah, she is AJ. We weren't getting the calls for whatever reason. Wemby got the star calls, and what is Jalen?
Yeah.
He's a star, but he just didn't get the calls. Or even Tibbs was like he was upset, and he didn't make the comment he wanted to make, or why he didn't get the calls. But it is concerning because anytime you go to the free throw line 12 times, yeah, even though you don't get all the calls, but still drive because you know you your percentage of making it, you know, is a little bit greater than you sit back and you sit down under the perimeter. If you lose drive to the basket, you could make it and get that N1, or somebody could just cut and things. So it's concerning when when your offense is you veer away from that. And then you start relying on the threes and the outside. So and that's a factor, another factor, not getting OG back and Randall. So there's a lot of concern there when you don't have your core players. Yeah, your Brunson can only do but so much. He's playing a lot of minutes and things like that, and just guys are not stepping up. So there's a lot of concern, when it's coming, when you go down to those players, 'cause like you said, a lot of people say the players is a different animal. So there's a lot of concern there, and you're gonna need guys to just step up and make contributions. Otherwise, you're gonna be out in the first.
Yeah. Shout out to Ajay. He said, I'm okay with Deuce taking that last wide open shot. He's been shooting lights out from the three the last few games. It's not like he passed it to Josh Hart or Precious for that last shot. I agree with that. I would have rathered Deuce take the shot, but out of those two guys, Hart or Precious, but I probably would have liked to see Dante DiVincenzo take the shot. That's just me being picky. And that's
You're not.
that's me, because I feel like my mentality is like a college coach. You see how Dawn Stanley, like nothing's gonna fly by. You have certain college coaches. It's like you gotta be locked in and ready. And I don't feel like the Knicks have passed that threshold yet of like
Yeah.
being like very hungry and wanting to win. I'm not saying they don't, but I'm saying there's that next level of like being a savage and like we trying to demolish everybody that comes in our way.
Yeah, but that's that. But that's why I say he trusted Deuce because the way Deuce was playing in our previous game. So there was a trust of why I think he passed that to Deuce. And like Ad just said, Deuce has been playing great. He's been shooting lights out just like Debo, from behind the stripe. So that's why I was like, I knew I thought it was going in, and I'm quite sure Brunson did too. Otherwise, he wouldn't have passed it to him. So that's him trusting his teammates. Where he has that trust factor with them. So yeah, I was confident that it would have fell, but it didn't.
Yeah, I thought the shot was going in myself. When he missed it, I was like, but I'm not gonna discredit Deuce because Deuce has been playing shooting great from beyond the arc. I
Exactly.
just think I'm more upset at it's not necessarily the last second shot. It's more of the lack of effort defensively, one, and then two, the lack of effort offensively from the remaining guys minus Jalen Brunson. I just feel like guys just weren't really locked in into a game that they should have, taken and they should have won. Salute Coach SAR 617. He said Precious shouldn't have been in that game the last play. I don't know why he was in. Was it because Hartenstein fouled out? You muted.
Yeah, I remember he fouled out. So I guess they were, I guess, looking for, I guess, not so much as scoring, but just, that defensive, presence. Because he wasn't gonna get anything offensively. He was off. So I guess maybe, just that rebound. There was, and he did, but he just, yeah, what was up with him throwing that? It was almost like he traveled. If he would have just came down, just another step, that would have been a travel. So he throws it out, and like, yeah, to me, he should have taken that up, But hey, he was, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. So
I think that Tibbs should have put Mitch in the game. I'm not sure what was like. I get it because maybe he trusts Precious more on the offensive side to score a basket over Mitch. But if you're looking for defense, Precious is not that tall.
but that was
So
on offense because who shot that, and then Precious had got the rebound, and then he threw it to Debo and then went out of bounds.
yeah, I
So
remember.
yeah, so like he could have, and there was a few shots where again these guys they gotta trust the process. Josh was under the basket a few times, and he kicked it back out. Like guys, just I don't know. Was it because Wemby was there, and it's just that scare factor just taking it up, and so I don't know. That game was theirs for the taking.
Yeah. Salute King Ribby RM. He said, shout out to both Nick's chicks. Salute chat. Hit the like button. You heard him. Hit the like button, guys. While you're sitting there watching, hit the like button. Eddie C said, in retrospect, why did Brunson not drive to the basket? I thought he had, see, I, I thought the same thing, but when I rewatched it, it was a little tough for him to get to the basket. Like, he probably could have, he probably could have drove to the basket, but the way the defense, he was double teamed. So the way the defense was coming at him, it would have been tough for him to get to the basket. But I think if he, I don't know, maybe if he would have set himself better to try to get to the basket instead of looking to pass it out, maybe he should have and possibly got the foul. I don't know. Or maybe he could have easily dumped the ball off and dished it out. I don't know. I just, That was very triggering from when we played Miami. Remember when Brunson was at the right side? He was driving and then he kicked it out to Josh Hart.
No,
That's what
yeah,
today's game remind me of, except it went to McBride, which again, I'm fine. I really am. I'm comfortable with McBride taking the last second shot. I think he can totally make it. I just think that this started before even we got to an overtime, before it even got to the overtime, and we went for that last second shot. Like this could have been avoided had the Knicks taken care of business from the rip. And that's the issue is that the Knicks did not come out with that high intensity. I think it was like 7-2 or 7-4 the first quarter. Then San Antonio pulled away because at one point the score was like 37 to I don't even know 12 or 15. I don't. The Knicks were just down. I was like, what is going on? Every time I was
yeah,
looking at the score, the Knicks were down horribly. I just didn't understand why the Knicks just.
yeah. It was an uphill battle from the jump, and this is a lot of times when you get down like that, you have to play harder. And at one point, just like in the last, like the fourth quarter, you could just see where like they were just tired because you spend a lot of energy,
Mhm,
because you playing catch up. Not the Spurs, they had the lead. So and they were able to maintain the lead until like what was that? It was 113, 114. That was what in the fourth quarter. So you're
mhm.
expending a lot of energy, and that's what the Knicks did.
Yeah,
Again, that comes from not getting the contribution from other from key players.
yeah. And that's I think that's the problem with this Knicks team is that okay, let me ask you again. Do you think this Knicks team, the bench that we have now, even once Randall and OG comes back, and we're gonna speak more on Randall later. Do you think this bench is strong enough to compete in the postseason? We've seen flashes of it. We've seen flashes of guys come through and do what they need to do, but is this bench strong enough to hold it down so that when your starters go to the bench, they can take a decent breather? They can, sit down for a couple of minutes. And when they're sitting down, can the bench come in and produce and make some sort of impact, and not. You ever notice like how sometimes when we're up by a lot and then Tibbs will put in like Jeffries, he may put in Toppin, he put in Shake, he put in whoever the known name guys. I'm not comparing them to the bench, but sometimes when they go out, all of a sudden the other team is able to kind of score an extra like 10 points, even though we're still up by a lot of points, but it just looks a little disorganized. And sometimes, I'm not saying all the times, but sometimes when the bench unit comes in, it can unravel. And then Tibbs has to go back in and put in Brunson, Randall, OG. You know what I mean? You got to go back and put the starters in because he's noticing it's starting to unravel a little bit and he's trying to reset and get us back so that we don't lose the lead of where we're at and regain composure. So are you confident with the bench unit that this Knicks team currently has that they'll be able to compete in the postseason?
Well, no, not this bench unit, but in all honesty, come playoff, these guys won't, they're not going to see the light of day. That rotation is definitely going to shorten. So with these players like Jeffries, and they really get in garbage time. These those guys are garbage a minute. So, but as far as like Precious, Bogey, Burks, um, I'm not you know, not really confident. Now, if and when we get like OG back and Randall's right now, it's just so mums. I'm not even going to count on him because, like I said, in our earlier podcast, that I think the Knicks they're gonna pull this. Oh, they're gonna wait until the regular season's done and now they're going to announce, oh, Randall's decide. Because again, I think they're just waiting for the season and just to see where they land for the first round. And I think that's when they're going to, give us this announcement. Or he may come back for the first round. But as far as the bench we have now, absolutely not. Because They shown flashes where they can get it done, and then there's no consistency. So no, I'm
Exactly.
not confident with the bench we have. Now, if OG comes back, and now he goes back in, he goes into the starter, and Deuce goes to the bench, and Deuce, he can definitely, make some noise in that, that second unit, along with, Pressures and even Tips. Oh, I'm keeping, some of the starters in even for that second unit. So if you get players like that back, OG, long as Mitch and iHeart is healthy, you know, Mitch come off the bench, I will feel a little bit more, confident. But as far as a bench stand, absolutely not. No, exactly. They're too inconsistent, Walter. I agree.
Yeah, I think that's something that the Knicks front office has to work on in the off season. Like I still think aside from us getting another player, not necessarily another player being a superstar player, I don't feel like the bench is strong enough with this Knicks team, the roster that we have now. Like I feel like too much of the focus is on the starters to perform night in and night out. And then when you go to the bench unit, you have one, maybe two guys who are do well. And I'll say, in that case, it'd be like Mitch, Hart, and then I guess you could say McBride if he comes off the bench. So that's three. But again, it takes five to make an impact. You know what I mean? So I think that they have to do something because there's still, it's like all the ingredients aren't there. You're missing one or two seasonings left to make it that full throttle amazing recipe. And I just don't think that this Knicks team, the bench, is strong enough. And I'm saying also for the playoffs, which is the intensity rises. I just don't see this bench being able to fully compete consistently because that was our issue at the start of the season. This Knicks team was very inconsistent. They were very up and down. They would win one, lose three, win two, three. Then it was just some players were showing up some nights, then 2, 3 games, the next 2, 3 games, they weren't showing up. That was our biggest issue. It was inconsistency. And I think this Knicks team with the bench that we have, they're just not. I don't know. I just don't see them cutting it. I don't see them cutting it. And I think it is a little bit of a concern for me that this bench, the way I only see two, maybe three guys cutting it from the bench. And then Tibbs is going to have to go right back to the starters, bring them in so that they can work their magic and do what they need to do. But I just don't see this Knicks team bench performing to the level of you see other teams in the league. Their bench will come in and they're a lot stronger. They're more the continuity is there for the bench for other teams, and it's not there for this Knicks team. So I just need to see this Knicks team. The bench needs to rise to the occasion on a consistent basis because I haven't seen them do that, and that's what I'm looking for. Um, let's talk a little bit about Randall. For the Toronto game, Randall was out on the floor doing a full throttle practice, like one on one with a trainer, not with the team suited and booted. Randall was out there shooting, getting up shots. Um, but that's all well and good. But I still have a concern that Randall may not be coming back just because even Tibbs said a few days ago, I read in an article on The Athletic that Tibbs said Randall hasn't been making progress.
He has it. He has
Has
not
not.
though.
He has
Wow.
not been making progress, not to the level where they want to see him. So, meaning, I take that as you see how you just had your elbow surgery and you just said your arm, there's still some underlining pain there
Yeah.
that maybe he's like, you know what I mean? But he's trying to fight through it. And the doctors are like, no, you're not ready, my boy. My boy, you're not ready. So I think that Randall, there's still some discomfort or some pain. And I think Randall is truly trying to fight through. He's getting up his shots. But I think that they think that Randall is still, there's that fear that he can tweak it, someone could fall on it, he can, he's bumping down low, and all it takes is one move like that, and then boom, now you're out, you made it worse. So I don't see Randall. I'm at 50-50 with him coming back. You just said you think that the Knicks are going to make an announcement at the end of the season and say Randall's opting to have surgery and he's not going to come back. If Randall doesn't come back, does that affect this Knicks team in the playoffs? And how much does it affect them? Or can this Knicks team be able to move past the first and second round? Or does that depend on matchups for the first or second round?
Well, you're 50-50 on Randall. I'm about like 60-40. I'm gonna go get the odds is gonna be against him. I'm going 60-40 because with him being at that Toronto game and shooting around, I asked yourself for show. It's like you're trying to just, I don't know. I can't say tease people, but you're just trying to just, I guess, satisfy the masses. Like, well, he's out here shooting, but yet he hasn't even, taken any full contact. He's just
Right.
one on one. That does nothing for the organization or for the team. That's number one. That was to me. That's just just give him something. Let him show that you're, at least shooting. Yeah. So what? Like as far as just them making they can get out possibly the first round depending on the matchup without Randall. However, if Randall is unavailable, I'm not sure how far they can go because I said, in the beginning of our podcast, the playoffs predicate on Randall and Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need, and also it's ideal. I would love to have, us to have that third option as well, but just Randall's style of play, being able to play down low with that physicality. So, and matching up with, other power forwards. I don't, I'm not sure how far they're gonna get, during that second round, without Randall's presence. So, you know, because it showed just yesterday, what Brunson was able to do, but he didn't get the necessary contribution from the other guys. And then our bench, there's no trust factor there. They're too inconsistent. So how far they're gonna go without Randall? I don't think they could, get out the second. The first, yeah, but that second, because it gets tougher and tougher with the matchups. Teams are fighting and clawing their way, to get out the next round. So I don't think they can go too far. Brunson can only take them but so far, and that was proof just yesterday. And when you're playing at 18, a team that's won 18, and the matter of fact, they were 17. They gave
Right.
them their 18th win. So
Right.
that's like concerning. So and if we can get OG back, but again, just Randall just being able to bang down low. And he's not able to do that. So it's concerning.
Yeah, I don't think this Knicks team can go very far in the playoffs without Randall. I complained a lot about Randall, but I saw you had said in one of our episodes, Randall shows the that he's capable of being better. And I think that him showing that capability that he can be better, and then he started to shape up and do play better. There was less of those minute mistakes that he was making before. But the reason why I say the Knicks are not going to go far without Randall in the playoffs is because, unfortunately, you just hit the nail on the head. It's not that Brunson can't bring this team far. He needs another co-pilot with him to do it. Randall is that guy who's that co-pilot who can give you the points. Now, if we had hypothetically a player like a Mikal Bridges or um, somebody who's an active shooter who's a walking bucket, then yes, I would say, okay, well, maybe Randall could sit out a little longer and then they'll be able to, go further with Randall and that other guy, that other player. But the Knicks don't have somebody else on this team who's a walking bucket who can get you baskets, who can shoot like that. They don't have that on this team. So them not having that, the pressure right now mainly majorly falls on Brunson. So when you get to the postseason, and let's think about Chat and everybody else, just yesterday's game. When the Knicks go to the playoffs, and even if the Knicks are making shots, right? But maybe they're not as hot. Excuse me. You need playmakers on this team. Guys who can get the ball, they can either drive or make those tough baskets. And I want to pull this up by Eddie C because I want to incorporate this in what I'm saying. He said Burks and Bojan was the fix, but it is a bad fit. We have to let them go and replace them with reliable players. I think Burks has to go because he's not a fit. I think Bojan is a fit. When you watch the shots that he's making, they're tough baskets. They're fadeaway tough baskets with the defense right on him. The issue that I have, and I've said this to you before, I'm still trying to put my finger on it. Is it Tibbs not fitting Bojan in the offense where he should be, or is it Bojan just not being in the right places and where he should be? We know he don't play defense, so I'm not talking about defensively. I'm mainly talking about offensively. But I think the Knicks need pure shooters. He can give you the points. He's capable of giving you the points. If you really watch the shots that Bojan is making, they're tough baskets. They're not the setup shots like McBride is taking. They're not the setup shots that Hart is taking. He's taking tough baskets, the ones that you see Brunson makes, the ones that Randall make when somebody's on them and they're falling away and they're damn near knocking down because there's a hand up on them and they could barely get the shot off, but they're making a shot. Those are not easy shots to make. But when I heard the commentator, he said he's a pure shooter about Bojan. Those are not easy baskets to make. I think the Knicks need to hold on to Bojan, but I think Tibbs needs to figure out how to incorporate this man into the offense. The same thing with Shake. I think this is why you need to give him the minutes, because when you have McBride, maybe not, or maybe sit him down for a couple minutes, put Shake in, and he did a nice play where he cut to the basket, and I want to say that was Hartenstein that found him. Somebody found him, and that did a nice bounce. I think it was Brunson, and he cut to the basket, had a nice layup. But I think part of the issue is that this team is not going to go as far without Randall because Brunson doesn't have a co-pilot who can help him out with the points. OG is capable of giving you the points, but it's not to the same degree. He's more of the cleanup and help up behind Brunson and Randall. And the Knicks right now, they're holding on by saving grace. I think that they're playing well. Yes, I'm not going to take that away from them. Despite all the injuries, this team is still one of the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference in the league. The thing that I have to say is that Brunson gave you 6. He could have gave you 75 if he really wanted to last night. There's no help. You know, in the back of his jersey how it says Brunson? It should say SOS. Because that's what they need, some help. They need help. And they're not going to go as far without Randall because Randall gives you that scoring that right now they need added with Brunson. So this is why the Knicks in the offseason, they have to find someone else. Because we don't know if, okay, Randall does have the surgery in the offseason. Now we got to deal with him coming back to a slow start again, like he did this season after the ankle surgery. But right now, It's too much pressure on one guy to carry this team. And again, when the Knicks are on and they're playing well as a team and they're moving the ball and guys are cutting and they're making shots, yes, it works. I'm not taking that away from them. But when you play like you did last night, and please hear me out, Chad, I'm not talking about the last shot from McBride. I'm talking about before we even got to that. When you're playing like you did last night and no one else is being a playmaker and making moves and stepping up, and then all you have is just Brunson trying to carry this team like he did against Miami last season. He was the one trying to carry us past the team, doing everything in his power to try to. That's a problem. That's a
Yeah.
problem. And this team is only going to go but so far without Randall because he's the only other person who can give you the scoring that's needed. And right now, we don't have scoring like that. Like, yeah, DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, McBride can give you 20, but it's not in a playmaking style. They're going to give you that 20 points in a night, in a game. So I don't know. I hope Randall comes back at some point because this team is going to need him moving forward. But I'm not sure how far this team is going to be able to go without having another guy who can give you points like Brunson is able to do. Unless McBride, Josh Hart, Precious, they step up, but I'm not sure. Salute Nick Yak. He said we had a terrible first quarter defensively. That doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen often, but here's the thing. At this point in the season, it shouldn't be happening. You at the last remnants of games, 10 games. I let it slide the first half of the season. But at this point, you have to be like locked in mentally of where we're trying to go as a team. And this team is not there where first terrible first quarters should not be happening. It's just to me, it shouldn't be happening. And again, I understand that some nights teams are going to be off, players are going to be off, right? And the Knicks are not going to win every game. But at this point in the season, terrible first quarters should not be happening at all. He said Precious at center yesterday got destroyed. Small lineup against Houston is not going to end up well. Yeah. And Hartenstein got to stop with it. He hasn't been fouling out. Don't go back to that.
Well, to Hartenstein's credit, and even in the report, like he say, Wemby, this guy, just his length. And he said he didn't make the necessary adjustments, and that's something he has to do, going forward, because you're not gonna meet a Wemby in the playoffs. You're gonna meet guys, that don't have his length, but they do at the same time they're just as athletic, just as skilled. So you definitely gonna need to make that adjustment because Wemby's nothing compared to the guys that you're going to meet up that's been in the league, and fighting for a playoff spot to move further. So he definitely needs to figure it out, and because he's going to be needed, him and Mitch both, because unlike again, I don't think Randall's coming back no time soon. Adley put he's coming back for the Miami game, but how? He hasn't even taken any type of contact. So how is he coming back?
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're not being forthcoming with where he's at, as far as physically. But at this stage, Hartenstein, he definitely has to, he got burnt, playing, Denver, the Spurs. So these are the things that he has to, figure it out, like how and make that adjustment with those style of players. Because you're not gonna meet up with a Wemby, but you're gonna meet up with guys that are more physical, and skilled, and he got to figure it out so he can be a part of that offense and defense as well. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I thought Hartenstein, I was like really disappointed. 4 rebounds. It just wasn't, I thought Mitch did a great job in the game. He was more of a defensive presence. But I think that goes back to what you were just saying. That's where Tibbs has to do better with the rotations. Sometimes he stretches out guys on the floor a little longer than they need to be. And that's where sometimes you got to say, okay, let me rock with this guy because you're seeing the impact that they're making on the floor. And I don't know. Sometimes Tibbs will have guys on the floor way too long. And I'm like, why? You could have taken him off and, switched him out. Nick Yak said, we went with 8-man rotation last year's playoff like a lot of teams. Bogdanovic is 10-man when we are healthy, is not playing in the postseason. If so, over who? Are you talking? Because you on mute.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh. Bogdanovic's a 10-man when we are healthy, is not playing in the postseason. If so, over who? Are you asking with Bogdanovic? He's at, it makes it 10. Or wait, if they had an 8-man rotation and last year's Bogdanovich is 10-man when we are healthy, is not playing in the postseason. If so, over who? So who would he be playing? Who would be playing over Bogdanovich?
Yeah, I think Bowden's gonna be a part of the rotation. Well, but right now it's 5, and if you get OG, that's 6. Yeah. I think he probably will, make him, like as Tibbs call them situational plays.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, you can't I hope you're not counting Randall, if so, then he will be that 10th man. But I don't know. I think Tiz I definitely find him because he's gonna need him for just that shooting, that scoring. We know he's not a defensive player, but as far as offensive wise, I think he'll squeeze him. Find some room in there for whether you know give you 8 or 10 points. So I mean, I don't know. I think Tibbs will find him, part of a part of the rotation. I mean, 'cause I'm not counting him to come back. I'm sorry. And
Yeah,
and
because
I know I'm probably wrong, but just where Randall's at, you
right.
know,
Yeah.
maybe the
I
second round, but
yeah, I agree. I think right now we're at an 8-man rotation. And then if you count what's his name? OG, that brings you to 9, and Randall would bring you to 10. Because honestly, I don't even, again, unless I think what could happen possibly in the postseason that certain guys could be that random X factor in the postseason, like Burks, Bogdanovich, McBride. Those could be the guys that can end up coming in and giving you a random 18, 20 points off the bench. But Shake could give you maybe 10, 12 points. But I think it's a matter of if Tibbs is going to feel trusting to put those guys in the postseason. I don't think staying locked into a certain numbered man rotation is the answer. I think you got to take a risk and take a chance some games. And if some guys is not hot, you got to give other guys a couple of minutes to come in and see what they can do. You never know in the playoffs and what they can bring to the table. So, I don't know about that. Salute Kareem Grant. He said salute to the chat and two Knicks chicks. Disappointing loss last night, but we fought back after the second half. They did. The Knicks did fight back. And I never take that away from this Knicks team. They're very resilient. This Knicks team will fight and crawl back. And they did a great job doing that and figuring it out. I looked at the score. I said, wow, the Knicks are crawling back into this game, which was nice to see. But I agree, it was a disappointing loss because this was a team that I had the Knicks beating. And I'm saying it as if I had a bet on the game. I didn't. But when we go over our predictions for the games, I wanted the Knicks to finish off strong. So this way, by the time we played against OKC, which I'm still going to be watching because we haven't beat them yet. I really wanted the Knicks. And I also think, like I said earlier, the Knicks need to beat the teams that are not even 500 teams. You have to put those teams away and beat them, you know? So it really was. It was a disappointing loss. Salute Cotton Candy. She said, salute Lady and a Chef Diva Locks in the chat. Guys,
Salute.
hit the like button while you're here. Hit the like button. Salute a Negro. He said, a Negro one. He said, salute to the panel. Yeah, it was a disappointing loss, Cotton Candy. Y'all heard Eddie. He said, hit the like button. He said, just hope Mitch didn't suffer a setback. He isn't in shape yet, but like the resounding. Yeah, I don't think so. I think just Mitch is just not in shape yet. But I
Yeah.
think it's good he's back while he's back now because he can get himself back in shape. He's in a real live game situation. So he's able to get his footing before the postseason. So I think Mitch will be okay for sure. He
Yeah,
looks
just a
good out
matter of
there
him
now.
just getting in shape.
Yeah. Ajay said, we currently have a 9-man rotation, starters plus Deuce, Mitch, Precious, and Bojan. Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I
because
got.
I mean, Bogey can come behind, Josh Precious. So I mean, like I said, I feel that Tiz will make him a part of that rotation. Because he can be, coming after guys like that. So I think he'll find a spot for him.
Yeah, for sure. You know what's funny? The Knicks had 62 points in the paint against the Spurs last night, and they only had 46. So the points in the paint is where the Knicks were averaging roughly in the beginning of the season. And the Knicks only had 11 turnovers. They had 10 steals. They got outscored on assists. Spurs had 34. The Knicks had 24. They finished with 50 total rebounds. They had 18 offensive and 32 defensive. The free throws is really what killed them.
Yeah,
The
that's what I
Spurs,
was going to say. Let alone contributions from non-contribution from the starters, but they were, the free throws, those matter. So we weren't getting the calls, as as the Spurs were, and even like Pop, man, he was up in that ref's face like, what the heck? Like, why didn't you give him a tech? I mean,
right,
he was itching for a tech, but for some reason they refused to blow that whistle. So it makes you wonder. Well, because he's like a seasoned coach, they gave him leeway. As opposed to like had that been Tibbs, up in an uproar, he'd have probably got a tech, in a heartbeat. So things like that, you watch and from a fan, and you like, that's a disparity in the non-calls against a coach like that. So it just makes you, why isn't Brunson getting the calls like the other stars? So that's another thing that's, well, will that happen down in the playoffs and stuff where you don't
right.
get the calls, because those matter when there's such a a difference in the free throws, that those count, and that
Yeah,
could have been a decided factor as well. So things like that just makes you just like a head scratcher.
yeah, I agree. Brunson doesn't get a lot of calls. I've noticed that. A lot of times when he's driving in, it's a clear foul, and he doesn't get the call, which is trash. Um, Tibbs want to go 10 deep, but he may sit two of the 10 each game based on the matchups. Yeah. And to me, that's sometimes what hurts Tibbs. Like, I don't know if that's a whole, you're trying to distribute the minutes properly. I think you got to go by who's performing, not how you trying to distribute the minutes. Because playing Josh Hart 40 something minutes doesn't mean that it's necessarily in certain games. When you could play that two, you're sitting and give them some of the minutes because maybe they can give you something off the bench, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like instead of giving, or maybe McBride or DiVincenzo 48 minutes. You can play them maybe 40 or 42, but you can give Shake a couple of minutes off the bench, Bogdanovich a couple of more minutes instead of sitting them the majority of the game and hoping that we're up by 20 and then you can play them the last 4 minutes of the fourth quarter. I just feel like you got to be willing to take more of a risk and a chance on your guys and be able to put them in the game. And then this way they can come in and perform. And I don't know. Tibbs doesn't do that. Yeah, the game was lost at the free throw line. And that's one of the things that the Knicks have to be mindful of, especially when they play against OKC tomorrow. Those guys are gonna drive. They're not gonna just settle for the threes. That's the team that I want the Knicks to become more of. Not OKC, but a team that knows how to drive, knows how to draw fouls. The team that knows how to stop the clock, get to the free throw line, and actually knock down the free throws. They're free. You don't have any defense on you. Knock them down. But the Knicks sometimes will hurt themselves on the free throw line because they miss too many or they're not getting there enough. And that it really it hurts them in a lot of games. So Nick Yak said, we also put up 110 shots. We lost big time at the foul line, which was the difference. Yeah. Yeah, the free throw line was definitely the difference. I also thought it was just the defense could have been stronger. San Antonio got a lot of easy baskets. A lot of easy baskets. And the Knicks have to tighten up. You can't play that kind of defense tomorrow against OKC. That's not it's not gonna fly. Like those guys, they play high intensity. They're yeah. You can't play like that. OKC is sitting at number 2 on the West, 51-22, way above 500. They're a little shy of 700. So, and the Knicks can hold on to that fourth spot because Orlando lost a few games. The Orlando is sitting at fifth. They're 42-31. The Knicks are 44-29. Cleveland is 45-29. And then you have Milwaukee's 46-27. And then you have the Pacers at 6 at 42-33. So, and the only reason why they're in sixth and Miami's in seventh is because they have 2 games over Miami. So, the Knicks have to win. They to me, the next 2 games are a bit of a challenge. They play tomorrow against OKC at 7. They play again on Tuesday against Miami. And then they play a back-to-back. So they play Thursday against Sacramento. And then they play again on Friday against Chicago. So once again, they have OKC tomorrow, Miami on Tuesday, Sacramento on Thursday, and they have Chicago on Friday. Your predictions for those next 4 games?
I'm gonna definitely go. I'm 4-0. You know me. I'm always an optimist. They could take, OKC, OKC won, yeah, their game, lost the previous game won. So in their last 4 games, they're 2-2. So they did a split. But I'm an optimist. I'm going 4-0 with the Knicks. They could take this OKC game. Again, they just gotta play some, hard fought defense. The offense has to, flow tighten up, They have been, their free throws, excuse me, that their turnovers, they have, decreased that. So, that's a plus. Miami, yeah, they're away, but they got Miami's number. They practically own them, just about. But they could win Miami. The only home game they have is at Sacramento, OKC in Sacramento. So that's why I'm going like 4-0. And we know where Chicago, where they lie at. They're kind of weak. But I'm going 4-0 with them. I'm an optimist.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I have them at 3-1. Um,
That the OKC game is where that one.
Honestly, it may not. I feel like with the Knicks, if it's not OKC, maybe they beat them, but I think that it can be between, I'm gonna say either Miami. I would even say it's between the three: Sacramento, Miami, or Chicago. It could be one of those three that they could drop because one of those teams could just be sneaky and they're just, it's a trap game. It could be.
Yeah, that's true.
But I
Mhm.
have the Knicks at 3-1. But I'm hoping they can go 4-0, but I think they're gonna go 3-1. And honestly, I would be happy with that. I really don't want to see them go 2-2. So if they can go 3-1, that would be great, you know.
I'm
So
with you.
we'll see. Um, so Randall and OG are taking 30 minutes each. So Hart will get minutes at two guard, reducing McBride's minutes. I don't see minutes for Burks or Shake, and McBride on the bench will while they're playing.
That's possible, but when is Randall coming back? He might make it if after the first round, you know. But you gotta be, you have, he might because even in the playoffs, the games are not, they're scattered, so that helps.
Hmm.
Um, So, we'll see. I mean, I hope so. Definitely if that's the case, you definitely know Burks and Shake, which I don't care even if he don't come back, but definitely for Burks, I would love to see Shake, play, but that's a
Hmm.
drawback. Now they will be, definitely relegated to the bench. But I definitely, would like for him to, definitely give McBride, some minutes, because he's been a tear. He can, definitely give us some scoring, but I can see that happening.
Yeah, I see McBride for sure getting minutes. Now, Shake and Burks, I don't know in the postseason, but McBride, I see him getting minutes, and same thing with Josh Hart. But like you said, we don't know what's up with Randall, so it's been um quiet kept, and we haven't heard much. The last thing, like I said, I read, which was last week on the Athletic, there was a article, and they asked Tibbs, I believe it was for like the postseason, and Tibbs mentioned Randall has not made much progress yet. I guess to where the medical staff and coaching staff would like to see him at. So we don't know, but we'll see. Um, but I do see Deuce getting the backup minutes to Brunson because you need someone else to bring the ball up. And I would rather see Deuce doing it than Burks. So, we'll see what happens with the minutes and Tibbs spreading out the minutes amongst the guys and how that'll work. But yeah, I have the Knicks at 3-1. I need the Knicks to win these next few games. Just because yeah, I think it's important for them, like I said before, that the Knicks don't drop past fourth. So if they could stay third or fourth, that'd be great. And we'll see. We'll see what happens from there. But
Yeah, we have 9 games left. Yep. We have, yeah, 9 games left.
yeah, so the Knicks can totally, out of those nine, I think the Knicks should try to win the next six. Or not the next six, but six out of those nine at least. That's doable.
No, for sure. Yeah, that brings them to a 50. I mean, which is doable.
They will get Randall on the court before the end of the season. They're just waiting as long as they can, probably last game, 5 games. We'll see. I mean, that would be nice. I also don't think they should rush it. We don't need Randall hurting himself again. He said, need OG to return. What's his timetable? I haven't heard anything on OG because
Yeah.
OG, I think. he's still shooting one on one with coaches, but I don't think I think he came back too quickly. They should have tried to bring him back maybe in the next few games. To me, I feel like he wasn't ready. So I don't know. I think they're probably I think OG that's probably trying to rehab his elbow because he clearly did something in that game when he yelled out and screamed out in pain, and that triggered something in his elbow. So
Yeah.
I just think that he shouldn't have come back till maybe when we had, I think, another maybe 5 games left.
Yeah, because they were doing okay.
Hmm.
They just rushed it. Like you said, something must have tweaked when because that he screamed out. You heard it, and it's the last report. Some doctor from NYU Langone said he's gonna always play with that pain. It's just a matter of the tolerance, and they have to wait for the inflammation and the calming. So he came back too soon, quite frankly.
Yeah,
As from a fan standpoint.
yeah, I
And you
agree.
haven't even heard anything really, like what's his progress and how's the elbow doing even when he's in practice saying, they haven't really given an update. So again, there go, that front office being mums and tight-lipped about, the players that, that we need back, that the team needs back, with OG and Randall, it's just outside of you said that report you saw in the athletic, but that they're just being tight-lipped about the whole situation. So you don't really know where they stand at, as far as their progress.
Right.
True progress anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's the same thing, but we'll see, Same way you guys are in the chat, we're curious just as well. I still think, even if guys come back with the last 3, 4 games left, great. But I just say don't rush them back. Let the Knicks finish off this season or majority of what's left of the 9 games. And then, we'll see what happens. But I think right now they just need to take it game by game and look to finish off this season strong. So we'll see what happens. I'll be monitoring. I'm definitely gonna remember. I know you're the optimist, so you have them at 4-0 for the next few games. So we'll see. But yeah, anything else for you? I think that was all for me that I wanted to discuss today.
No, that was it. You know me, 4-0, baby Knicks.
Yeah, salute to the chat. Walter Blackman, Corey Lee, Aj, Eddie C, Coach SAR 617. Who else? King Ribby RM, salute to you. Dunross Gilman, salute to you. Yeah, he is out of shape, but he'll get
Nick
back in
Yak.
shape. Salute to Nick Yak, Cotton Candy, a Negro
And then
One, and salute to those of you who are not in the chat but are watching. We appreciate you for watching. Salute to the replay gang for watching us. And those of you who are new here, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel. Those of you who are watching on a replay gang, hit the like button. It helps us get our page out into the algorithm. We're a growing channel. Also, check us out on Twitter, now known as X. We're also on there. Chat with us. Catch me on Mondays on the Queen's Court under the Nothing But Knicks channel, under Steph, aka Queen channel. Actually, this Monday I'll be hosting as Queen is going to be out in Miami, so she will be at that Knicks game against Miami for her birthday. So look out for that this upcoming Monday. I'll be hosting with the other panel members, so that'll be a good show. I'm actually going to work on that. So I got some juicy questions coming up for that episode. And yeah, until next time, everybody, thank you for joining us. And yeah, we're out of here. Peace.